two-way tie at the top of the table over in League Two with Swindon and Walsall joint neck and neck. Of course, with only goal difference separating the two sides. Will they still be there at the top of the table at the end of this weekend's action? We're going to get into it next. That's right, folks, back once again with another video today. We're looking forward to match number 15, that's right, over in League Two. And we'll get to it in a second. If you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe. You want to subscribe for Blackburn Rovers League Two, Wolf football. We're going to all hear under one Rooski. That's right, Walsall, Swindon and Salford occupy those automatic spots with the race for the playoffs wide open. No one's guess, everyone's guess as to who's going to be top of the table and in those players at the end of this week's action. What about the drop zone? Well, we'll showcase you that in just a second. Big shout out to the members, big shout out to the patrons, big shout out to you guys, of course, for supporting the channel. And don't forget to smash that like, 30 likes if you can, for this video. So let's get into the deep end then, shall we? Of course, and look back before we look forward, of course. And of course, these were the results on the screen right about now. My picks are on the left, the real deal's on the right. Just going to cherry pick someone's there. Fleetwood Town, Accrington, Stanley, got that one bang on the nose. Look at that big win there for Crawley, 4-0 winners over Bristol Rovers. Meanwhile, Notts County against Cambridge, got that one spot on. And I got Tranmere against Chesterfield, also spot on the nose, that's right. So I did myself okay in regards to picks. What about the table then? The table looks like this. Walsall top, Swindon second, Salford up there in third, would you Adam and it? And of course, MK Dons, Notts County, Grimsby, Chesterfield at the moment. Going down, Newport County, Crawley, as there's life in the legs of Cheltenham, Stanley and Shrewsbury these days. But of course, that can all change this coming week. And we are getting close to an update of the old prediction league, so keep on doing your thing over in League Two. That's right. So here we go. They're looking forward to these games, of course, following on from the FA Cup. So let's get in the deep end then, shall we? With a trip to Colchester, as Danny Cowley's boys are cooking right now. 14 for the table, 18 points for them. They're unbeaten in the last 5 matches up against Bromley. Andy Woodman, they sit 11th with 21 points, of course. 2 wins, 2 defeats in the last 4. They played 3 times since 2009. 2 wins Colchester, nothing for Bromley, and there's been 1 draw. They last played at Colchester, resulted in a 1-1 scoreline back in September 2024. Colchester, of course, with the bookies on this one, they should be favoured. Going to go with a 2-0 win as well for Colchester United. Let's go to Crewe then, shall we? As they take on Shrewsbury over at Grimsby Road. Lee Bell's Crewe are 9th, just on the outside looking in. 22 points for them, 2 defeats, 2 wins in the last 4. Against Shrewsbury and Michael Upton, they've got a bit of fuel in the tank there, unbeaten in the last 4. They are 22nd with 13 points. Now they have played 22 times since 2003, 7 wins Crewe, 9 wins Shrewsbury. There's been 6 draws between the two sides, but last season back-to-back draws between these two sides, including a 0-0 when they last played at this venue. Crewe on the back of that 3-2 win over Grimsby. Shrewsbury picking up a 2-2 scoreline away to Oldham. The bookies for this one, they'll back actually Crewe here, heavily fancied here. 1-0 winners at Grimsby Road for the Alex, that's right. Moving forward, Barrow taking on Grimsby, that's right. Coming at you over at Barrow. Andrew Wings there, 15 for the table, 18 points for them, just 1 defeat in the last 6. Also cooking at the moment. Against the Grimsby side, David Artell, just 1 win in the last 5. They sit 6th right now, 24 points for them. And they played Barrow 16 times since 2010. We've got 4 wins Barrow, 8 wins Grimsby. There's been 4 draws, of course. But Barrow, 3 wins on the bounce against Grimsby, including the last time they played at this venue, which was a 3-0 winners back in January 2025. Barrow on the back of a 2-2 scoreline in the league against Barnet most recently. Grimsby, of course, losing to Brentford heavily in the cup, also losing to Grimsby in the league last time around. But of course, the bookies for this one, they'll back Grimsby. I don't know about that right now. Form is not good for the visitors. Going to go with a 2-1 win for Barrow to make it another win over, of course, Grimsby. Let's go to Bristol Rovers then, up against Gillingham. And an out of sorts, a couple of teams here. Bristol Rovers are 16th right now, 17 points for them. 4 defeats in the last 5 for Darryl Clark's boys. Up against Gillingham and Gareth Ainsworth. They are winners in at least the last 6 and have dropped all the way down to 8th with 22 points. Now, they have played 17 times since 2007. 3 wins Bristol Rovers, 10 wins for Gillingham. So there have been 4 draws. They last played at this venue, resulting in a 2-0 win for Gillingham back in December 2020. Bristol Rovers have only won once of the last 6 against Gillingham. It's about a long time ago now since Crawley did tonk Bristol Rovers most recently 4-0. In fact, Bristol Rovers have conceded 12 goals in the last 3 games. Absolute shocking stuff. As for the Gills, yeah, winless in, I don't even know how. They are losing by fine margins here, but they're just on the wrong end of them all. I'm going to back Gillingham. The bookies are going to back Gillingham just, though. I'm backing them for a draw, looks like. 0-0 in the end. Let's go to Crawley as they take on Fleetwood. Coming over at Crawley. Scott Lindsay's boys are struggling right now. 12 points for them. Just 1 loss, 1 drew over the last 3. Up against Fleetwood and Pete Wild. Of course, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They are 10th with 22 points and have played Crawley 5 times since 2010. There's been 2 wins apiece and 1 draw between these two sides, with the last match they played back in December 2019 in the FA Cup, resulting in a 2-1 win for Fleetwood. Fleetwood have actually won back-to-back against Crawley the last couple of occasions here. Fleetwood on the back of that 2-1 win over Stanley. Of course, Crawley with that 4-0 impressive win over Bristol Rovers. Are they back? Are they back in shape here? I don't know. The bookies for this one find it very, very tight, but they're leaning towards Fleetwood. I think I am as well. 2-1 winners for Pete Wild's boys. Let's go to Barnet now as they take on MK Dons, of course, over at Barnet. Dean Brennan's lads are 12 for 21 points, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They're looking good. Up against MK Dons on Paul 1. They are 4th, 24 points for them, 4 wins out of the last 6. And they've played Barnet 14 times since 2005. 3 wins Barnet, 8 wins for MK Dons. There's been 3 draws. They last played over at Barnet, resulting in competitively. Let's go competitively. Last played against Barnet was a 1-0 win for MK Dons back in November 2020. That was in the FA Cup. Meanwhile, Barnet on the back of that 2-2 scoreline away to Barrow. Bromley beating MK Dons last time around. With the bookies on this one finding it very, very tight, leaning towards Barnsley, I think. Not for me. Got to back MK Dons, starting to flex their muscles once again. Let's go to Chesterfield then as they take on Stanley in a Northwest Crunch Clash over at Chesterfield. Paul Cook's boys are 7th right now, just inside the playoffs, just 1 defeat in the last 6. Up against Stanley and John Doolan, they're 21st with 13 points, just 1 win in the last 6. They played 18 times, these two clubs, since 2007. 7 wins Chesterfield, 9 wins Stanley. There's been 2 draws between the two sides. Coming into this, they last played at Chesterfield, resulting in a 3-0 win for Stanley back in November 2024. Chesterfield on the back of successive draws, drawing with Fleetwood, then Tranmere. Stanley also on the back of a draw, drawing with Tranmere as well. So both sides, the last match, as of right now, recording, on the back of a draw against Tranmere Rovers. But of course, spoiler alert, they're recording this before the FA Cup matches this past weekend. So that'll be lovely. Bookies odds on this one, they'll back Chesterfield. I've got to back them as well. 3-1 winners. Of course, Paul Cook's going to get it right this time, it looks like. Meanwhile, Harrogate Town against Oldham. Coming at you over at Harrogate. Simon Weaver's lads are 19th right now, 14 points for them. 4 defeats on the spin up against Oldham and Mickey Mellon. They are 18th with 16 points. Winless in the last 6, but they played Harrogate 4 times since 2020. 3 wins for the hosts, 1 win for Oldham. There's been no draws. They last played at this venue, resulting in a 3-0 win for Harrogate. That's back in January 2022. Harrogate on the back of a 3-0 loss to Newport. Oldham with that 2-2 scoreline at home to Shrewsbury. The bookies on this one, again, tight one, going with Harrogate here. I'm going to go with a 1-1 scoreline as well. Too tight for me. Not taking my money on that one. Meanwhile, Newport County, of course, at our bottom. They're going to be taking on at top of the table Walsall. Goodness gracious me, it's coming out over in Wales. That's right. David Hughes' lads, though, are doing all right. They've won 3 of the last 4 in all competitions, taking on Walsall under Matt Sadler. Just 1 win in the last 5. They played 13 times in 2017. 4 wins Newport, 2 wins Walsall. There's been 7 draws. They last played in Wales, resulting in a 0-0 scoreline. That was back in April 2025. Newport did beat Harrogate most recently, and they've been pretty good on the road. In fact, they've won 3 matches. They've actually won 3 away matches on the spin at home, where they're grim. Back-to-back home defeats, back-to-back home games without a goal. Up against the Walsall side, who did lose. In fact, they haven't won in the last 2 away games. So this could be a bit of a weird one here. But the bookies will back Walsall. I've got to back Walsall right now, despite that claim of the home form of Newport just stinks right now. Let's go Salford then. They're flying high. Up against Cambridge. Still in the reckoning, maybe, for playoffs. Of course, Carl Robinson, Salford are 3rd. 25 points, just 1 defeat in the last 4. Up against Cambridge and Neil Harris, just 1 win in the last 4. They are 13th with 21 points. They played Salford 4 times in 2019. Salford have won 3 of them. There's been 1 draw of them. There's been 1 win for Cambridge. No draws. Last time at Salford, it was a 4-1 win for Salford back in February 2021. That was in League Two. Salford are on the back of that 2-1 win over Gillingham. That's right. Cambridge losing back-to-back away matches. They've lost 3 away matches on the spin. And of course, this one's not going to be any much different, is it? Bookies will back Salford. I'm going to back Salford. 2-0 winners. Carl Robinson might have them cooking at long last. And then into the final 2 is Swindon against Tranmere. Ian Holloway, Swindon are 2nd right now, 26 points for them, but they are winners in the last 4. Up against Tranmere, Andrew Crosby, they're unbeaten in they're just won to the last 6. 17th for the table, 16 points for them. They've played Swindon 40 times since 1994. 19 wins for Swindon, 14 wins for Tranmere. There's been 7 draws. They last played at Swindon. 3-1 winners it was for Swindon back in January 2025. Swindon last in the league, a 0-0 scoreline at Colchester. Has been back-to-back home draws for Swindon, up against Tranmere, who made back-to-back draws themselves. This could actually be a draw when you think about it. Bookies odds, though, back in Swindon, of course, they are. I'll go with a 2-1 win, a narrow win for Holloway's boys. And then finally, Go to the 10th of November, Cheltenham under Steve Cottrell. They're actually cooking right now. Just one defeat in the last 6. They won 3 in the bounce in all competitions up against Notts County and Martin Patterson, 5th in the table. They're unbeaten the last 5, and they are also making a good account for themselves. They played each other 15 times to 2003. 5 wins Cheltenham, 7 wins Notts County. There's been 3 draws. Goal first when these two sides last played at this venue. 8 goals in it, resulting in a 5-3 win for Notts County back in December 2024. Cheltenham last time in the league with a 1-0 win over Walsall. Notts County last time in the league with a 2-0 win over Cambridge. Bookies odds for this one. Notts County are favoured. I think I might be leaning towards something else. Going to go with a draw here, guys. And if I'm right, this is what the table will look like. It'll be Walsall top of the table still, with Swindon Town alongside them, and Salford remain in 3rd. MK Dons, Chesterfield, Notts County and Crewe going down, Crawley and Newport at the moment. But again, not much change, to be honest with you, in the table. But that is it. Make sure you subscribe, though, and smash that like on your way out as we look forward to this game and much, much more. Of course, I'll bring you back up to date with the Prediction League very, very soon. But until then, subscribe whenever you are to whatever.